معركة ذات السلاسل, the Battle of the Chains, in 633 AD. At this time, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the first Khalifa, or the first Caliph of the Rashidun Caliphate. He was fighting wars of apostasy against many Arab tribes who had committed treason or claimed themselves as a prophet after the final prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. These Ridda wars were wars of apostasy, and where the caliphate was trying to maintain the loyalty of these tribes by fighting them in combat. However, also during this time, a chieftain known as Muthanna ibn al-Harith was fighting the Sassanians in multiple raids. He found much success fighting local Sassanid governors. When he wrote about this to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had a plan in mind. He wrote a letter to Khalid Ibn Al Waleed ordering him to go and fight against the Sassanid Persians. He gave him an army of 18,000, and where he sent tribal chieftains Muthanna ibn al-Harith, Mazhur ibn Adi, Hormala, and Sulma to help aid him in his combat. When Khalid ibn Waleed set out with 18,000 troops, Khalid ibn Al Waleed, he then sent a message to Hormozod, a Persian governor, telling him to submit to Islam and be safe, or agree to the payment of the jizya, and you and your people will be under our protection. Else, you will have only yourself to blame for the consequences, for I bring the men who desire death as adherently as you desire life. When Hormozod received the message, he of course declined, and he sent a message to Yazdegerd III. Yazdegerd III sent an army of 25,000 people to help aid Hormozod in his fight against the Rashidun Caliphate. Khalid ibn Waleed did one of his most strategic battle plans. He knew that the Persians had low mobility, and they were not an army who could cope with many changes on the battlefield. However, Khalid ibn Waleed had an impressive light infantry and light cavalry, and where they were very mobile and were used to desert warfare. So he wrote a letter back to Hormozod telling him that he was going to go to the city of Uballa near the Tigris River through the route of Hufayr, the city of Hufayr. So when Hormozod, he was planning on meeting Khalid ibn Waleed at the city of Uballa. He found that Khalid ibn Waleed did not reach there. He was not there in this city. So he sent his scouts to find Khalid. The scouts found Khalid ibn Waleed at Kazima, a city 50 miles away from Uballa. When the scouts came back to the Persian army that was garrisoned at Uballa and gave the news to Hormozod, Hormozod was frustrated. So he moved back to Kazima. He moved to Kazima through the route of Hufayr. When Khalid ibn Waleed's scouts reported this back to Khalid, Khalid ibn Waleed then moved to Uballa via the opposite route of Hormozod. This is one of the best strategic military plans that Khalid ibn Waleed has done in his lifetime. Hormozod, on the other hand, when he heard about this, he went back to the city of Uballa. Khalid ibn Waleed was in the city of Uballa waiting Hormozod. Hormozod, however, had guarded the water from them. The battle started with multiple dual combats, multiple 1-versus-1 dual combats, and where challengers from each side would come and fight their opposite counterparts. So it started with the Persians sending multiple challengers to challenge their counterparts in the Muslim Empire. The Muslims, they then sent their challengers to fight. It was narrated that most of the duels were won by the Rashidun Caliphate's troops were won by the Muslims at this battle, but then Hormozod had a little plan under his sleeve. He decided he was going to go out and challenge Khalid ibn Waleed. So he went out and said, "Where is Khalid?" But in reality, he didn't want to challenge him. He wanted to entrap their general so he can kill Khalid ibn Waleed, and the Muslims would be in confusion without a general, without their best general. Khalid ibn Waleed was dubbed the Sword of God, so he was a really important general to have. He was a really strong general. So when Khalid ibn Waleed went to the challenging area, Hormozod had brought with him a personal guard of around 10 soldiers. Now this was actually not how the laws of war went. If you were challenging a person, you must go by yourself. So Hormozod was doing something that was wrong, really not ethical in the laws of war. So when Hormozod came to fight Khalid Ibn Waleed, Khalid Ibn Waleed was he didn't know what to do because he was also away from the Muslim army. Hormozod had brought him close to the Persians, but suddenly a brave soldier known as Al-Qa'qan saw what was going on, and he ran to the battlefield to assist Khalid Ibn Waleed. When the fighting ensued, almost all the Persian challengers were killed by Khalid ibn Walid and Al-Qa'qan. And then Khalid ibn Walid, he then stabbed Hormozod in the chest with a spear. After this had ensued, he didn't let the Persians regroup or reorganize, as this had caused disorganization and caused their morale to be low. Khalid ibn Walid then sent infantry and cavalry charges right into the Persian army, and with a few charges, the Persian army's lines broke, and this was the end of the Battle of the Chains. The importance of this battle is huge, because this was the first step in the chain reaction that would lead to many more battles between the Muslim Empire and the Sassanian Empire until the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, the Battle of Qadisiyah, and where the Muslims would get close to the Persian capital, and then later the Muslims would capture the entirety of the Sassanian Empire.